All right, so get ready because today we're diving headfirst into Boston, but not the Boston you see on those postcards. We're going deep, deep into the underbelly, the true crime scene.
It really is interesting, isn't it, how we picture these cities with their polished facades, their shiny exteriors, but every city, and I mean every city,
Every city has a story.
has these hidden layers, these untold stories.
Yeah.
And Boston, with all its history, all the prestigious universities and everything, it's no different.
No, not at all. And that's what makes it so fascinating. You think Boston, you think Fenway Park, you think Harvard, maybe a stroll through Beacon Hill.
All right.
But then you stumble upon a case like John Doe's, and suddenly, bam, you're seeing a whole new side to the city.
It reminds you that these places, these cities, they're more than just destinations or tourist traps. They're living, breathing entities,
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And they've got these complex systems, these power dynamics that are always at play, often colliding in ways we least expect.
Okay, so let's talk about John Doe.
Yeah.
This guy's facing a life sentence for rape.
Yeah.
Talk about high stakes. So, set the scene for us.
All right, so John Doe finds himself right in the thick of it, facing a serious legal battle. And not just any legal team. He's got White and Associates in his corner.
I've heard of them. They're the big leagues, right?
Oh, yeah, they're the heavy hitters, known for their aggressive defense strategies for sure.
So they step in. What's their first move in a situation as serious as this?
Well, it's not a simple game here, We're not talking checkers. This is high-stakes chess.
Right.
And their first major move, it's to chip away at those initial charges. They managed to get them reduced from rape to indecent assault and battery.
I'm no lawyer, but even I can tell that's a big deal.
It's huge. I mean, we're not just talking legal jargon here. In the eyes of the law, rape carries immense weight. We're talking lengthy prison sentences, often mandatory registration as a sex offender. The impact, it's lifelong.
Yeah.
Now, indecent assault and battery, while still a serious offense, it suggests a different level of severity, puts you on a different legal playing field entirely.
So a crucial win for John Doe. I mean, it drastically changed the potential consequences he was facing.
Oh, absolutely. It really did.
So they essentially took a potential life sentence and turned it into, well, what exactly was on the table after that reduction?
That's where things get really interesting. By reducing those charges, White and Associates, they essentially created a window, an opportunity to really strategize.
Okay, so less jail time potentially, but then I was reading and they somehow managed to prevent an indictment altogether.
Yeah.
How do you even do that? That just doesn't seem like something you see every day.
You're right. It's not common at all. See, an indictment, that's like the green light for a trial.
Okay.
It means a grand jury, they've heard the prosecution's side, and they've decided, yeah, there's enough here to formally charge the accused, preventing that from happening. That is a major feat.
Sounds like White and Associates pulled a rabbit out of a hat.
So what does this mean for John Doe? Did they just make the case disappear?
Not entirely. They successfully argued against that indictment, basically saying, hold on, there's two sides to every story.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean the case is automatically thrown out.
Okay.
Instead, John Doe ends up on something called pretrial probation.
Pretrial probation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Break that down for me. What does that even mean?
So imagine it like this pretrial probation. It's a bit of a tightrope walk for the accused.
Okay.
They're essentially given a second chance, an opportunity to show they're taking responsibility, maybe attending counseling, performing community service.
Yeah.
All under the watchful eye of the court, of course.
So not exactly a get-out-of-jail-free card, more like a high-stakes agreement.
Exactly.
Oh,
It's a gamble, you could say, both for the accused and for the prosecution. John Doe gets a chance to completely avoid trial and potentially a criminal record, but he has to stick to some very strict conditions.
And this is where we find out if White and Associates' strategy really paid off.
Yeah, it is.
What happens next?
And this is where the case takes a real turn. John Doe, he walks that tightrope like a pro. So all that counseling, the community service, staying out of trouble, it actually worked.
It did. He met every single requirement of that pretrial probation, and White and Associates, they made sure of it.
So what happened in the end? What was the final verdict?
The charges against John Doe, they're dismissed completely. And here's the really incredible part. Dismissed without prejudice.
Without prejudice. What does that even mean?
It means it's like the whole thing never happened. This whole case, this legal battle, it's wiped clean. No trial, no conviction, no criminal record. John Doe, he walks away with a completely clean slate.
Wow, that's almost unbelievable. from facing life in prison to walking away completely free.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about the power of a good legal strategy, about how complicated the justice system really is, and about how things aren't always what they seem on the surface.
It's definitely a side of Boston you don't hear about too often.
Hmm.
We're so used to thinking about the history, the Freedom Trail, the academics.
Right.
But this case, it just shows you there's a whole other dimension to the city.
Exactly. Behind those beautiful brownstones and those cobblestone streets, there's this whole hidden network of power and influence. The legal system is just one example, but it's a powerful one.
It really is.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder how many other stories are out there hidden in plain sight. How many John Does are caught in these legal battles fighting for a second chance.
And that's the beauty of true crime, isn't it? It peels back the layers of a city, exposes those raw nerves, the hidden agendas, the undercurrents of power that shape everyday life.
It's a side of Boston you won't find in any guidebook.
Mm.
We hear about Paul Revere's ride to the Boston Tea Party, and those are all important parts of the city's story, of course. But then you uncover a case like this, and it makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Absolutely. It reminds us that every city has its secrets, its hidden narratives, its underbelly. And sometimes it's in those shadows, in those forgotten corners, that we find the most captivating stories.
You know what? You're absolutely right. It's like we opened up a detective novel or something, but this is real life playing out right there on those historic streets.
Hmm.
So for someone listening, someone who maybe, they're planning a trip to Boston, how should this experience, this deep dive, how should it change how they see the city?
I think it's about perspective, you know? It's about looking beyond those picture-perfect postcards, those charming brownstone facades, realizing that a city like Boston, a city so steeped in history, it's got layers upon layers of stories. And John Doe's case, yeah, it's just one story, one thread in this giant tapestry. But it reminds us that behind those stories, behind those legal battles, there are real people with real lives, real struggles.
So it's not just about adding a few true crime spots to your sightseeing list.
No.
It's about understanding that every street you walk down, every neighborhood you visit, there's a hidden history there, just waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. And those hidden histories, they often reveal the true character of a city, the complexities, the contradictions, the things that make a place truly fascinating. You can walk the Freedom Trail, yeah, get caught up in the revolutionary spirit, but you also got to remember beneath that well-worn path, there's a whole different kind of drama playing out, the drama of everyday life, of the human experience.
It's like you said earlier, every city has its secrets, its underbelly, and sometimes those hidden corners, those are the places where you find the most insightful, the most profound stories.
I completely agree.
Well, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for guiding us through this deep dive into Boston's true crime scene. Definitely eye-opening, to say the least.
It's been my pleasure.
And for everyone listening, remember, the world is full of hidden depths. So keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and we'll be back soon with another deep dive to unearth another fascinating layer of truth. Until then, stay curious.